The sun was dipping low behind the mesas when Luke Carver rode his sorrel mare toward the San Miguel River. He wasn't looking for trouble, just water for his horse and a quiet moment after a long day riding fence. But before he even reached the bank, he reined in sharply. Someone was there. A woman. An Apache woman. She stood knee-deep in the river, scrubbing a torn buckskin dress against a smooth stone. Her long black hair hung in wet ropes over her shoulders. Her arms were steady, but her hands trembled as she worked. The closer Luke looked, the more he realized the dress wasn't just torn. Its edges were shredded, clawed, or ripped as if by desperate struggle. She hadn't noticed him yet. Luke watched quietly, trying not to startle her. He knew enough about the reservations and the tensions to understand that an Apache woman alone didn't end up in this condition without something terrible happening. Her ribs were faintly visible beneath her soaked shirt, and a purple bruise bloomed across her right shoulder. She winced whenever she lifted her arm. Luke cleared his throat softly. "Ma'am, I ain't looking to harm you. Just watering my horse." Her head jerked up, eyes sharp and wild. In one swift motion, she grasped the stone beside her, using it like a weapon, but her legs wobbled. She was exhausted, scared, and alone. "I won't come closer," Luke said, raising a hand. "You look hurt. You need help?" Her breathing steadied, but her distrust remained. She didn't answer. Instead, she dragged the ruined dress from the water and clutched it to her chest as if it were her last possession in the world. Luke felt his gut tighten. Something terrible had happened. Something she wouldn't say. Slowly, he climbed down from his horse and set his canteen on the sand. "You can have this. No catch. Just water." She stared at the canteen for a long moment, then at him. Finally, she whispered one word, soft, hoarse, and broken. "Please." She stepped out of the river, shivering, her feet scraped and raw. Luke saw new bruises, old scars, and a fear in her eyes that told stories she couldn't bring herself to speak. Whatever tore her dress had nearly torn her life apart. Luke knew then that leaving her alone would be a death sentence. So he stayed. Quietly, carefully, hoping she'd trust him long enough to survive the night. As dusk settled over the valley, Luke built a small fire at a respectful distance. The Apache woman sat across from him, wrapped in his spare blanket. She kept glancing into the trees, expecting something, or someone, to emerge. Her silence weighed more than words ever could. Luke handed her a strip of jerky. She hesitated, then accepted with trembling fingers. She ate as if she hadn't tasted food in days. "What's your name?" Luke asked gently. After a long pause, she murmured, "Nalin." A soft, beautiful name, meaning maiden, but her eyes showed she had not lived like one lately. "You're safe here," Luke said. "Nobody's coming to hurt you." Her gaze flickered to him. "You do not know who hunts." Luke stilled. There it was. The truth, or at least a piece of it. "Who?" he asked. Nalin pressed her lips shut, then looked into the fire. Her fingers traced the shredded hem of her buckskin dress. "My people have enemies," she whispered. "But the men who tore this—" Her voice cracked. She swallowed hard. "They were not my people." Luke's jaw clenched. He didn't push further, didn't need to. He'd seen raids, gangs, and desperate men in the border territories. He knew the kind of cruelty that left a woman running alone through the wilderness. Nalin huddled closer to the fire. "I ran for 2 days. No water, no food, just running. They followed. They always follow." Her voice dropped to a trembling whisper. "But I hid in the canyon. They lost my trail." Luke shifted closer. slowly so she wouldn't flinch. "You're a long way from safe ground, but I can get you there." Her eyes widened. "Why help me?" Luke didn't have a simple answer. Maybe it was the fear she carried. Maybe it was the strength beneath it. Maybe it was that he'd been raised to believe that a decent man didn't turn away from someone in need, no matter who they were. He shrugged lightly. "Because somebody ought to." A faint, almost invisible smile tugged at her lips. Then she looked to the stars, whispering a prayer in Apache, one Luke couldn't understand, but somehow felt. The night grew colder, the shadows deeper. Luke knew whatever hunted her might still be searching. So he kept the fire small, stayed awake, and listened to the darkness. Nalin finally slept. Fitfully, but safe for now. Luke watched her, knowing he had stepped into something dangerous, and whatever waited beyond those trees might soon find them. By morning, a pale streak of dawn lit the sky. Luke packed his gear and helped Nalin to her feet. She winced with every step, but determination burned in her eyes. "We need to move," Luke said. "My ranch is half a day's ride. Once we're there, nobody'll touch you." Nalin hesitated. "If they see you with me, they will kill you too." Luke gave a half smile. Let him try. But before they took 10 steps, rustling echoed through the cottonwoods. Nalin froze, eyes wide with terror. Luke pulled her behind him, his hand going to his revolver. A man emerged, then another, and another. 3 riders, dirty and grinning, looking exactly like the kind of men who left a woman's clothes torn to pieces. Well, the leader drawled. "Looks like our little runaway found herself a hero." Nalin trembled violently. Luke stepped forward, planting his boots in the sand. "She's under my protection," he said. The men laughed. "Didn't ask, cowboy." The one on the left swung his rifle down. Luke didn't wait. His off hand flashed to his holster, faster than lightning, and a single shot rang out. The rifleman fell. Chaos erupted. The second man charged, but Luke tackled him, sending both into the river. They fought viciously, mud, sand, fists. Luke struck him hard across the jaw, knocking him out cold. The leader grabbed Nalin, yanking her toward his horse. She screamed, tearing at his arm, but she was too weak to escape. Luke stumbled up the bank, blood on his lip, eyes blazing. "Let her go." The leader sneered and raised his gun at Luke. A sharp crack split the air. The leader staggered, shock on his face. Nalin stood behind him, clutching Luke's dropped revolver in both shaking hands. She had fired the shot. The man collapsed into the sand. Silence settled, except for the river's quiet rush. Nalin dropped the gun and burst into tears. Luke rushed to her, steadying her shoulders. "You did what you had to," he said softly. "You're safe now." She leaned against him, trembling but alive, free for the first time in days. Luke helped her onto his horse, climbed behind her, and wrapped an arm gently around her so she could balance. "Where do we go now?" she whispered. "Home," he said. "We'll figure out the rest together." As the sun rose over the canyon, they rode toward a future neither had expected, a cowboy and an Apache woman, bound not by blood, but by survival, courage, and a chance at a new beginning.